Posted by you/understanding OK 1255. AITA for doing the same thing to my sister-in-law that she does to my son? So, background, I, 32F, have a brother, Dave, 35M, who's married to Sarah, 29F. They don't have children yet. I have a son who just turned 4 and a 3-month-old daughter with my husband, 39M. My husband and I live in Belgium most of the time, but we travel back to visit my family about once a month, in England. At home, we speak both English and French to our children. My husband is Belgian, and right now, my son is in this very sweet phase where he'll sometimes mix up the two languages and say a couple of words in English in a French sentence or vice versa. This has never posed a problem to us, and even the staff at his nursery have reassured us that it's very common and they tend to grow out of it once they start at school. My sister-in-law has decided that this is a problem, so when we're visiting my parents and she notices my son doing this, she'll correct him, but she does so really rudely, whereas my husband and I will just gently correct him. Anyway, we're visiting at the moment, and she's now decided that instead of correcting him, she's just going to start ignoring him when he does this. I sort of noticed her doing it when we arrived, and I thought it was odd, but assumed maybe she was just stressed. Her job is quite intense, but it only really became an issue yesterday. My husband was talking to my dad outside and I was feeding my daughter in the other room, and I'd left Louis with Sarah and Dave. When I came back downstairs, Louis was crying, and I managed to understand that he tried to ask Sarah for a drink. He has a special cup he uses that he was holding, so it was obvious what he meant, but that she just ignored him. I asked her why and she explained that she wasn't going to reply to him unless he said the sentence correctly and that I shouldn't be ignoring my son's obvious speech issues. For context, it's not that she didn't know what he wanted. She told me that she understood exactly what he was asking for, but that she was deliberately refusing because he hadn't asked correctly. This really pissed me off, but luckily my husband came inside at that moment and pulled me away so we could calm down and settle Louis. That night at the dinner table, Sarah asked me to pass her something, but she said it in bad English. She is English, I just mean that she asked for it in slang. Think, pass us the peas, will you? I had a bit of an epiphany and I just decided to totally ignore her. She asked again, and I did the same thing. My brother asked why I was ignoring his wife and I said that I'm not able to reply if she can't speak English correctly and that it's wrong of him to ignore her obvious issues with grammar. Everyone's pretty pissed off with me and I admit it was incredibly childish, but she was needlessly being a dickhead to my baby. Should I just apologize? Now on to a few comments before the edits. Posted by Rai Nuna. You completely passive-aggressively defended your kid against a childish adult. Was it petty? Yes. Was it deserved? Heck yes. Finish every 6002 responded with, yeah, this would be justified AH. Happy Lucid responded with, honestly, I wouldn't term this passive-aggressive or revenge, simply because first, the SIL is the one who set the standard for how to react if something is grammatically incorrect, and two because essentially, we're talking about education, and one of the best ways to teach is to demonstrate. If the SIL wants to take this as petty, that will be up to her, but it should be explained that if an adult finds the demonstrated behavior frustrating, imagine how it is to a child, whose language is still developing. The uncle, brother, also needs to think about the mental health of his nephew, and if he is going to be okay with any future children he is being moved to tears by his wife's intolerance and ignorance. Posted by Psychath Path. JAH, saw it in the comments. You are in a hole, but you are completely justified in being one. Your sis-in-law is ignoring a child by acting like one and so treating her similarly, although is kind of being like an A. She still deserves what was coming to her as she was being an A to a child as a fully grown adult. Posted by pensive_moon. I mean, technically ESH because you are being incredibly petty. That being said, I would probably be doing the exact same thing. Sarah isn't teaching your son proper English, she's teaching him he can't rely on adults to have his needs met. NTA. Just wanted to add that I definitely think a conversation is in order. It wouldn't hurt to acknowledge that you were hurt by her actions and reacted differently that you would have wanted in hindsight. She also needs to know that what she did was confusing at best, and if she continues, it would be outright abusive to your son. He doesn't understand what he did wrong and why affection was suddenly withdrawn. Posted by No Regrets 6996. Soft YDA, but you're the best kind of a hole, which I think everyone in this sub approves of. Could you have handled it better? Yes. Should you have? Nah. Now on to the edits. Edit, wow, this really blew up. Thanks for all the comments and support, and thanks for all the ESH/Y.T. Messages too. I'm not going to apologize to her, because to be quite frank, I think she deserved it, but I will have a conversation with her and my brother before we leave to try and explain that, for one thing, it's completely normal, and, more importantly, that if she keeps correcting or ignoring my son, I'll be severely limiting their contact. Although I doubt if I'll ever leave him alone in a room with her again anyway. To answer a few of the most common questions, when I said everyone was mad at me, I meant my brother, his wife and my parents, although, my parents don't agree with what Sarah's doing either. They're more trying to keep the peace. My husband is entirely on my side, and when he realized what Sarah had done to Louis, he only saw the aftermath. He wanted to cut short the trip. Sarah, and the rest of my family, only speak English, which I suppose goes some way towards explaining why she doesn't understand it. I do think it's a monolingual reaction because we've never experienced anything similar in Belgium. One final thing, lots of questions about why we're in the UK so often. My husband has to be in London for his job about once a month/once every 6 weeks, so we tag along. I freelance, and a few of my clients are UK based, so it's a good opportunity for me to fit in a few meetings too. It also gives us the chance to bring Louis and Misha over to see my parents before Louis starts school, and we have to cut down on the visits. Now on to the last story. Posted by you/proud_buyer_8918. AITA for dumping the truth on my sister? My parents had 2 girls, me, 17F, and my sister, 14F. I have always felt like my parents saw me as a babysitter, as a third adult in the house, and have expected me to be a 40-year-old kid/teenager. Whereas my sister was their baby. They spoil her rotten. They adore her. She has never wanted for anything, and they do everything to make her happy. I was expected to help take care of my sister for as long as I can remember. She's not special needs, was never sick, wasn't even a preemie either. But that was the dynamic that was set up. I remember I would come home from school and Mom would have me help feed my sister. She would have me watch her then while she was in and out of the house. I would be told I needed to play with her if my sister was upset. She'd miss me a lot and my parents would insist I dedicate my time to her once I was home. We'd go out as a family, and she'd want something, and they'd get it for her. But I would be told to act my age if I wanted something. She would get to hang out with friends whenever she wanted, would have really amazing birthday parties and sleepovers that I was never allowed to have. I also never got to attend sleepovers at other friends' houses. There were times my parents would take her to do really amazing stuff and I was left behind. Over time my sister started to get annoyed by my pulling back when I was around 15. I kept to myself, I'm moody around them, I don't engage in the family, I take the punishments rather than do chores since she has none assigned to her. My parents hate that I won't be the little housekeeper they wanted. My sister has told me I'm a brat and ungrateful for not helping our parents who are amazing. Over time it has gotten worse. Then she heard me making plans to leave with my friends in a couple of months. She was so pissed that I was going to leave the family behind and that I hadn't told the family anything. She talked about how Mom and Dad have saved for us to go to college and I just want to run away. Something broke inside me when she said that. I told her she has a college fund waiting for her, but I don't. Just like she can get anything she wants while I'm told to act my age and not want anything. I told her she expects me to be a maid when I get nothing, and she gets everything. I told her I am not that much older than her, but everyone expects me to be an adult. I asked her how she'd feel if she was supposed to juggle a younger sibling, taking care of the bulk of household chores, schoolwork and not getting time with friends. That the only reason you have crap is because you work, but it leaves you exhausted because you already have so much on. I told her that is my life, and she doesn't make me want to stay any more than our parents do. To cut this short, she's upset, and I was called in a hole for being so mean to her. My sister said I was in a hole for dumping all that on her shoulders. AITA? Now on to some comments. Posted by I wish to boop the snoot. NTA but your parents sure are. OP responded with, agreed. I will need a lot of therapy eventually to try and unpack all of this. Separate ad 9481 responded with, sounds like a typical golden child scenario. Younger sister is the clear favorite, and she resents facing the reality of that. Unfortunately, situations like this rarely change. All the best with getting out, and once you do, please give yourself the opportunity to heal. Good place to start is podcasts by a lady called Lisa A. Romano. You deserve so much better. Posted by Ghostofimich 2005. I was called in a hole for being so mean to her. There is a difference between being mean and being honest at a breaking point. You didn't call her names. You didn't say things to insult her. All you did was tell her how you felt all these years. If her response to being told that you have had nothing your whole life while she had everything is to call you mean, she is too far gone. Maybe later in life she'll see what was happening and may try to make amends and you can have a sister. But right now you have two bosses and a client. NTA. Budget _professor _158. She told her the truth that the sister had never wanted to see. Sure, it might have been a shock, but it was a needed reality check. NTA.